So good morning, everyone. Morning. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Glenda, the SRG family, and it's very good to be with you all participants from different countries here. I'm coming from Rome, bringing another trade wind. I'm going to change the perspective a little bit. We started with India, the Indian situation, and then with the global situation, with the refugees, and then all the systems. Now I am going to talk where to get the funds. And they say when you start talking about funds, everyone listens. You don't have to look for attention, you get it. Fine. Yeah. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about the landscape of funding, mainly from the faith-based sources. Go ahead. May I know who is doing the doing? Yeah. Okay. The first topic will be on faith-based funding landscape. It's not only for those who are Catholic organizations and also collaborators with them, but also mainly the sources. We have the different sources of funding. The Catholic pastoral donor agencies, the Catholic social funding organizations, and the secular funding. So today I'm going to talk mostly about the Catholic funding. Yeah? Okay, that's good. The second point will be the organizational competence. There may be funding available, but are you eligible to get it? That's the issue. So that will be dealt on the second. And third will be the process. What process you need to have in order to secure funding. I hope that will give you an overview of how you can proceed with your PDOs and convert them into organizations that are going to get this funding. Now let's start with the different vehicles for fundraising. You are quite familiar with that, I think, with the 7 pillars of SRG. SRG is already training a lot on these vehicles. So I would classify this vehicle into 3 different areas. The first one is the individual giving, where you have the different vehicles. What you see, crowdfunding, direct mailing, these things you are already using to raise funds. I'm not going to touch it. The second area is about community fundraising, where you do a lot of events and you raise funds. The third area is where the big funds are. The big fishes are here. The whales, sharks, and whatever you want to call. So the donor funding through grants. This is the area that I'm going to deal in elaboration. There are also funds with corporate social responsibility and faith-based impact investment. These 2 are not my topics for the day. I'm going to deal with donor funding through grants. And I hope you know about these 2 things. With the corporate social responsibility, the company funding, and then the different investments that are available. I think there is another topic that's going to deal with that. Good. Now, what is the possibility for project funding among all the various vehicles? I'm not going to say my area is the most important one, but this is a very productive one. I can give an example of my own experience. Like when I was working in India, especially in north of India, our province, we had 13 missions, and all the 13 missions we could develop and sustain through projects and grants. From the congregation, we only spent money for being in the place. But all the schools, hostels, the health centers, social development activities, all these mission activities we could cover with the grant funding. So it's possible that you, with your PDOs and your ministries, it's possible to fundraise. Now between the cup and the lip, there is a slip. It's possible, but will we be able to do it? That's the main question. I'm going to show you within this short time, it's possible, and we can every one of you, all the PDOs here, can move into this realm. So we have to see where the funds are. Where are they located? There are three major areas. We have the Catholic social donor agencies. We have the Catholic social, the first is the pastoral and then the social. These two are Catholics run or Catholic organized grants, which are available for Catholics, and especially with the priests, sisters, and all the collaborators. And there is another big area of secular donors, which I am not going to deal now. Maybe in the later stage, if we have chances, we will talk. I would invite you to see and locate any of these agencies. You have already worked with. Can you say any of these agencies you have already worked with? Yes, Missio. Okay. Conrad Hilton? Yes. Aid to Church in Need? Okay. There are plenty. There are hundreds. There are thousands of agencies. So sometimes our knowledge of agencies can be very limited. So we need to enhance it. I'm just giving you an overview of things, and now I'm going into details. It's not only the donor agencies in general. There are congregations which run their own donor agencies. For example, if you take the Jesuits, they have 13 agencies around the world which funds all the Jesuit projects. You may be wondering how Jesuits are able to run big universities, colleges, development centers. They have a big backbone of 13 organizations raising funds for them in millions of dollars and euros. And St. Ignatius, during his last days, after doing his spiritual exercises, he was preparing the mission procures. Today we have the mission procures in the congregation because the Jesuits already started it long back. Because he knew if you want to start new missions, you need funding. And without organizations, you cannot raise funds. So he created the organizations, and that's what you see here, 13 organizations. And you have started the PDOs in your congregations, and it's a very good move towards raising funds. But are we able to do it or not? That is the main questions. We will try to answer it a little bit. Now, if you see the realm of pastoral donors, let me little bit clarify on the terminology. I mix the word grants and projects. That's because of the two different systems we have. Grants are used mostly in the United States and Canada, whereas projects are used in Europe. So when we talk about European donors, we don't talk about grants, we talk about projects. But they mean the same. And also the donor agencies or donor organizations, it means the same. So there's nothing to worry too much on that. Now, among the Catholic pastoral donors, which are the different types? So we have the Propaganda Fide in Rome. They support more than 900 mission dioceses all over the world. They support the bishops and different dioceses with different types of projects. Every bishop has minimum 3 projects every year, and they are well aware of it. The Holy Childhood or Papal Foundation, that's Vatican-based donors, and usually accessible to the bishops and the dioceses. Not much to the congregations, but with Holy Childhood, it's possible a little bit. Then we come to Catholic Church-inspired donors, which are very big. Missio, Church in Need, MIVA, and all the organizations you see in Germany. They are church-based and they do a lot of funding around the world. There are congregations, individual congregations running donor agencies. Sisters of Peter Claver. Any project below 10,000 for missionary needs, they are ready to fund. Different monasteries give mass stipends and also small projects. Intra-congregational donors. I showed about the Jesuits. We have Salesians here. The Salesians also have 5 big organizations and 23 small organizations for fundraising. So every congregation has got its own setup. If your congregation is not having, you have to do the setup, because the big organizations have already done their homework. And that's why they are able to establish and fund their mission activities in the global level without much problem. And of course, I have added clericians also. We have our main office in Rome, where I work. We have also offices in Germany, in Spain, and the US, which raises funds for us. We have a centrally coordinated way of doing projects. We fund around €1 million over 60 projects every year. So it's already happening outside, and now we will see our situation gradually. The Catholic dioceses in Germany, in Canada, there are individual dioceses that fund projects. Then there are bishops' conferences. The US Bishops' Conference have a lot of projects for Africa, Middle East, and Asia. The Italian Bishops' Conference has plenty of projects, mainly on the social development side. Then we come to the private foundations, Serra International, Little Way Association, Loyola Foundation, in hundreds. So if we say that we don't know where to get funds, we are missing something. We have to get into this realm, this field of the donor agencies to get to know them. For what reason do they fund? You have all the reasons for which you are looking for funds. For your pastoral work, for the vehicles, construction of seminaries, construction of convents, and these are the things you are looking for funds. And they are all funded by these organizations. Now the question is, how much funds are available? In the year 2003 only, we have 143 million euros for 6,000 projects in 138 countries by Church in Need. You have the website for reference. The next question is, what is the total amount all the Catholic organizations are funding? We don't have a single area where we can get this answer, because we have various types of donor agencies. I have tried to put in a possible number with my experience of connecting with different agencies. Every year, a minimum of 50,000 projects, small and big, are funded for around 20 to 25 billion euros. So that's the field we are talking about. We cannot say the church has left us without resources. God is providing. Are we ready? Are we fine-tuning ourselves to get the funds? The problem is not with lack of funds. Problem is with our fishing net. In the ocean, there are a lot of fishes, big fishes, small fishes. What type of net are you using? Okay. Now we will start with the compliances. See, every organization has got its requirements. If you take Missio, this is their channel. They receive the project application with all the recommendations. The first consultant does the review, then the group reviews, Then it goes to the board of directors. It's yes or no. If it's yes, the contract is done and the money is sent, the project is done, report goes, and then the information to the donors. Because most of these organizations receive funds from their donors using most of the techniques that you use. They use crowdfunding, they use social fundraising, events, lot of vehicles they use to fundraise. So they have to give back, tell their donors about the impacts that is created on the ground. And you people are very important because you are the ones who are creating the impact. The funding agencies cannot do anything without you. You are very important in the chain of events where the funding is made into impacts, converted into impacts. Okay. Now, a brief look into the secular donors. And these are big donors. Miserior, Manos Unidas. And most of the European countries have their own secular organization for funding. Now, little bit to think. The secular Catholic agencies are very much connected with the Catholic social teaching. And nowadays with Laudato Si. So most funding goes to renewable energy, disaster management, and greening of the earth. So the agencies are very much connected and then they fund accordingly. So you cannot say, okay, 10 years back you were funding on this sector, now you are not funding. Yes, they are always updating and of course they will announce it in their website. You can easily find out. So they have different sectors. Sometimes they get funds from the government and then the requirements are very strong. For example, if Miserior is getting funds from the German government, then the auditing system is very strong. So they will give it to those donors, those implementers who have a very strong financial structure to implement. So if your organization is not very strong, then they will not fund you. So you can become a partner when you have your financial strong. So that's why I appreciate SRG, which also has a financial structure. So they advise on maintaining your financial structure strongly. So some agencies have their own staff in the global south, and they want us to connect with them. So for Miserior, for example, they have their own staff in many countries. Manos Unidas does not have staff, but they always come for visits. They have to visit your project before they fund you. Okay, all these are some of the landscape issues. There is a general shrinking of funds. That's also connected with the reputation of the Catholic Church. And so some people are very busy tarnishing the reputation of the church. And whenever there is a pedophilia issue or any other issue that's coming, we may think it's only a moral issue. No, it's a financial issue and it affects you and me because it impacts the funding. People will not fund an organization that is morally not right. So the church always tries, especially the church in Europe and US, is trying to give our project a morally good view because we are also losing funds if the other ways it happens. And now the church is growing in Asia and Africa. And there are more indigenous clergy, indigenous sisters who are heading the organizations. We are no more part of Europe. We are indigenous. And so the problem is where to get funds is more pronounced. When there were people coming from Europe, they knew where to get the funds. So there is a need for knowing a lot about the where to get funds. Now let's see the organizational compliance. You have to specify sometimes who is asking for funds. Is it the congregation or your NGO? When we say faith-based organizations, strictly it means the NGOs of the religious organizations. So if you have not registered your NGO in the government, then you may not be eligible to get funds from many of the Catholic social agencies. So there is a need to know all these things. That's why I said between the cup and the lip there is a slip. There are funds available. We are in need of funds, but we need to do the compliance correctly. Then project offices of the congregation. And this is where you score the better point having a PDO. But there could be a difficulty within the PDO if your PDO is not trained to work in grants. You may be doing a lot of fundraising through other vehicles. But to train the PDO to work with grants and projects, we need to fine tune. And we are also working in SRG how to do that in capacity building of the PDOs to engage in grant-based fundraising. Of course, we need trained personnel. Okay. Now, one-time requirement. There are people who are very happy when they get one project approved and they finish with that. No, your missions, your advocacies are sustainable or permanent. So you need to, as a congregational leader or as a PDO director, you need to see how constantly you raise funds to sustain your mission. As I said, 13 missions we were running. Continuously we were getting projects. So when one project goes down, already the next project is in process. And projects don't get approved like individual donors. We may take minimum 6 months to prepare, send the project. Then there is a lot of questions coming. We need to respond. So this is a process which we need to do. The training of the personnel is very important. We need to keep constantly training. And here is the donor organizations, where to find the donor organizations. I was talking about the directory. So, thank you. So this is called the MPS funding guide, which has got around 400 Catholic and social organizations which would fund the Catholic PDOs quite easily. So it's already worked out book. This is available in the website, Mission Project Service, or those who are based in Rome, they can also get from me because I am also part of the Mission Project Service research team. Maybe we can later think of making it available through SRG. Okay. So finally, what is the dynamics of the grant processing? What should you do in order to get the funds? So there is a heavy competition already. The agencies, the known Catholic agencies receive 10 to 20 times the number of projects that they can fund. If they can fund 100 projects, they receive 1,000 plus applications. So you need to be competitive, though all are from fathers and sisters and bishops. So there is no merit on that side. The merit should be on the quality of your proposals. Okay. So what is needed is hand-holding and consultancy. The PDOs require constant support. So that is possible also through SRG. A constant support in order to work with the different donors. So you already have established your advocacies. So the needs are very clear. What is to be done is to convert the needs into project proposals and to align it to the right agencies. I hope you get my point clear. Okay, good. So there are different trainings going on. This is part of tulip trainings. in September. It's on-site and online in Dubai, mainly for the religious. So this is one such training. We are also thinking of doing some trainings with SRG, with a capacitation model of program development. Okay, my concluding remarks. As I said, you already have the basic office. What is required is this extra component of how to work with the donor organizations, because it is not that simple. It has got its own dynamics. You need to prepare yourself for that and to identify the right person. And I think most of the people who have come here are the right people, because you have the passion to raise funds for the mission. And it's a very big service. It's a selfless service. It's easy to raise funds for me, but to raise funds for my organization, you have to sacrifice. So it's a good thing you are all doing here. Okay, finally, I would say, without investing, you cannot do the harvesting. So sometimes what happens is people want funds, but when we ask, are you ready to to spend some money to get the funds? No. We want to get funds for free. No, there is no such free meal. You have to have a budget, you have to invest, and then you get your returns. So with this, I close. I hope many of you have many doubts, and most of the doubts we can do in the panel discussion, or you can personally meet with me. Thank you very much.